Welcome to my top 20 black metal albums of all time. I wanted to do a fun video like this and share with you some of the albums that I absolutely adore in black metal. Of course I'm dressed for the occasion, you know? Nothing says black metal than a guy in a fucking red in a red shirt with no long hair, no face paint, with this kind of shit in the background. Definitely screams black metal, but no more fanning about. We're here to talk about some true cult shit and also some atmospheric shit. So let's get it started with number 20. So number 20, we have Peste Noire with an album title I could not fucking say. It's all in French. Everything will be in the description down below, so you can check these albums out at your own leisure, your own pleasure. And yeah, this album is beautiful. That's the word for it. Beautiful. This is one of the albums on the list which kind of merges the raw evilness of black metal with kind of like a beauty. You know, you got that acoustic guitar in some sections. The melodies just feel black gazy, which kind of makes sense because Nige was on this album. The album as a whole was very beautiful. That's the word to describe it. And I love songs like that. I love albums like that. And this one just epitomizes the bleakness and the beauty so well together. And if you've never heard of it, go check it out. So if you love like a beautifully bleak journey, this is an album for you. Number 19, we have Nocturnal Poisoning by Xasthur. Depressive suicidal black metal. This is a bit different. Less beauty in it, more just straight, just depressive atmosphere. You can tell from the album cover that it's just gonna be a dreary time. And it is, and I love that shit. I love funeral doom, one of my favourite genres. And if you want like black metal to be kind of as depressing as funeral doom, then this genre is for you, and Xasthur is one of the best. Some of their albums are hit and miss. This one is the best, in my opinion. The debut is just, it has that raw atmosphere, and it's just, it's amazing. It's amazingly brooding, and if you want something to just pop on and relax when you're going to sleep, this is 100% an album for you. And yeah, I love it. Next up, Noregs Vaapen by Taake. There was a lot of good Taake albums, so it was kind of hard to decide which one is my favourite. But this one has a banjo solo in. So obviously this is going on the fucking... a banjo with black metal? How does that work? Well, let me just tell you, it fucking does. And the rest of the album, it's not just the banjo song, the rest of the album is actually flawless as well. And it's one I always go back to. I showed my friend it and he was like, what the fuck, there's a fucking banjo? But album's amazing, Taake's amazing. The new splits are kind of hit and miss, but this album, absolute fucking masterpiece. Next up, Migwa, Exercising and Futility. Some people will probably shout at me for having this on the list. Fairly new, you know, fairly new black metal band. But this album, man, this album is just catchy as all hell. It's, if you find it hard to get into black metal, this is probably an album for you. It has catchy riffs. The singing is kind of clear for black metal, but this is kind of like an entry-level band for people, I think. So you could go from like Cradle, Dimmu, all that shit, and then move on to Migwa, I think. I think that's a good stepping stone to the other Aurora stuff like Xasthur and Judas Iscariot and stuff like that. But yeah, I still love this album. It riffs, and it riffs fucking hard. And for black metal to riff hard, because it doesn't generally, is something great, and they do it so goddamn well. The melodies in it, infectious. Love this album. Next, for something completely different, Spectral Lore with their album Free. And you was going to like this album from the album cover, just a tower with a kind of stalk on it, and I was like, this is going to be kind of spacey, kind of ethereal black metal, and it 100% was. If you love proggy kind of black metal, just ones you can pop on, drift off to, Spectral Lore has you goddamn covered. And the album this year, maybe my number one of the year. Very spoiler, that's a spoiler, but I fucking love that album. But this one, again, masterpiece. Absolute masterpiece. If you love proggy kind of black metal, 100% check Spectral Lore out. Fucking amazing. And now for something completely fucking chaotic. Deathspell Omega with Paracletus. I kept saying Paracletus, but I think it's Paracletus. Yeah, just a wall of chaos, a wall of noise, just barraging your eardrums, and it feels so good. It is just, if you love Ulcerate, if you love the latest Ulcerate album, you'll love this. Deathspell is just one of those bands that just creates, I don't know what the word was, dissonant music so well. and this is one of the best. Next up, we have Satanic Warmaster with Carelian Satanist Madness. This is for you kind of old school, you know, black metal fans. You want it raw, you want it evil, you want it dark, but also I think it's kind of catchy. I think this album's really catchy. This probably isn't for everyone, but neither's most of these albums, so I think these guys do it really well. One of the best, and you just have to check it out. The full album is on YouTube, so you can go out after this video, go check it out, and if it's not for you, then there's another 19 albums on this list that might be for you. But for me, I adore it, love the sound, love the catchiness of it, love the vocals, so yeah, 100% check this one out. So next, Immortal just did a ranking for them, and you know what it's going to be? Diabolical full moon mysticism. Has that evil atmosphere, has that raw sound. His vocals are just so evil on this album, and I think it's Immortal's best album, just for my opinion. They have a lot of good albums, but for me, this one's just tip of the top. Best artwork, best vocals, one of the better black metal bands of all time, so gotta give some love to Immortal. Next up, giving some love to another bigger band, and the more we get onto this list, the more famous the bands will be, you know. And starting with this one, you know, Marduk. Big name. They're more into the war metal side of things now. But this one, the album in question, Opus Nocturne, just, is more evil black metal, more typical black metal, and that's the kind of shit that I like more. And the war stuff's still good, still heavy, still intense, but I prefer the older stuff, and this is one of the best. This and the one that follows it, amazing. And I knew it was going to be good from the kind of Night in the Bald Mountain album cover that they got going, and it doesn't disappoint. Does not disappoint. Next one, I'm going to need to read, because it's pretty stupid. Nattens Madrigal, and then there's another part of the title that I'm not going to be able to pronounce, but it is down below. This is the most chaotic, the most evil, and the most black metal sounding Ulver's ever been. And the first album, Bergtat, is a 10 out of 10. Masterpiece, ethereal masterpiece, folky, amazing. This one is intense as all hell, and it doesn't stop throughout the entire album. I mean, there is acoustic parts, there is serene parts, but as a whole, the album is bonkers, and that's why it's the best, and it's why it's one of my favourites. And the sound, it's probably, out of all these albums, this one is the most mental. I gotta say, it's the most raw, it's the most mental, and it might take a while to get used to, but stick with it and it'll be awesome. So coming in next, we have Anaal Nathrakh with In the Constellation of the Black Widow. Yeah, not too sure if I should have this on this list. Not too sure if it's even black metal, but it's not death metal. Not extreme, well, maybe it is extreme metal, but I'm not going to do an extreme metal list, so it's going somewhere, and it's going here. It's probably more attuned to black metal than it is any other genre. You could say that their other albums are more whatever extreme, whatever the hell genre it is, but for me, this album, especially this album, is black metal. The screams are there, the intensity's there, it has all the hallmarks of it, so it's going here for me. Next up, we have Enslaved, and the one I'm picking is the debut. I almost struggled with this off Frost. Both fantastic albums. I mean, Enslaved have no bad albums, really. But the debut it just has that sound. The sound is just there in the debut. The songs, there's a couple, and they're all long. And it's back when, this is like 1993 or something, or 4. And it's around the same time as like Mayhem and Burzum and all those other bands, and it has that sound. It has that particular sound, but they did it differently to everyone else. They had it proggier back then. Even back then, it was proggier. Songs like 10 minutes long for a lot of them. Masterpiece, this album. Masterpiece of black metal. One of my favourites, easily. So next, no surprise here, Mayhem, De Mysteriis, Don Satanas. What can I say? You know, Pioneer, Mayhem, one of the best black metal bands ever. Not all their albums hit, but this one definitely does. This one definitely does, and it has to be on this list. Next up, Darkthrone. Got to have Darkthrone on here. The album in question is my favourite, Transylvanian Hunger. You could put any of the classic trio here, even Panzerfaust. You could put here. Just anything except you know, the debut, because that's death metal. But Transylvanian Hunger is just the best one for me. It has that trancey atmosphere, evil atmosphere, and I just think the vocals are out of this world, and Darkthrone has to be on someone's list. If it's not on someone's list, you know, get in the bin. The list is invalid. If Darkthrone's not on the list is invalid. Simple as. Next up, we're coming close to number 1 now. Leviathan, the 10th sub-level of Suicide. This album is probably one of the best DSBM albums ever. I mean, you probably see it a lot, the image a lot, when you type black metal in or DSBM in, and this image will come up because it's that good. You know, their other albums are amazing, but this one just set a standard, and the standard is trancey, evil, and just kind of relaxing. You know, a lot of the time people say it's like too chaotic, but for me, a lot of it is relaxing, and this is probably one of the most relaxing. And there is another one coming up, which I prefer a little bit more, but this is a masterpiece, easily making it my list. So top 5 now, top 5 of all time. Number 5, we have Drud. I don't know if I've said that right. With the Blood in Our Wells. I could have picked loads of albums from them, because they're a masterpiece. The first album, masterpiece. So many. The latest one, 2018, masterpiece, but this one is a cut above the rest. It's like an 11 out of 10. Just the passages in it, the melodies in it, the folky atmosphere, it's amazing. One of the best albums of all time. Just one of the best albums of all time. Not even black metal. Albums. So it has to make the list, and it's coming in at number 5 because there's just too many good ones. Number 4, Bathory. Gotta have Bathory here. Just have to. These next 4, I didn't know which one to put 1. Sometimes this was 1, and sometimes, you know, but as it stands, this is number 4. Bloodfire Death got me into the genre, you know, alongside Philosophem, got me into the genre, and yeah, it's kind of Viking-y black metal, so it's kind of on the cusp. I didn't know whether to put this or Under the Sign of the Black Mark, which is also a masterpiece. I didn't want to duplicate bands, though. You know, I didn't want to just put all Darkthrone's albums here, or all Bathory's albums here, because I would. But Bloodfire Death got me into it. Still love it, still think it's epic, but it's about on par with Under the Sign. And Under the Sign is probably more black metal, but Bloodfire is just epic. Epic, that's all I can say. And yeah, has to be here. Number 3, not at Emperor yet. So Emperor, and the album is Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk. The debut is amazing, 10 out of 10, but this one is just, it's a bit better, in my opinion. The debut is probably more melodic, probably more symphonic. This one is mental. It's kind of like Ulver. The first album, bit more symphonic, bit more casual, and then the second album is just like a barrage of just nonsense and mayhem, and that's what Anthems is, and I think it's a masterpiece. Anthems is a masterpiece, from the trumpets in the beginning to just hitting you in the face like a freight train. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Easily number 3. So number 2, probably a weird pick. Some people will be like, what the hell is this doing here? But yeah, number 2, Total Self-Hatred, the self-titled album. Love it. This is, out of this list, this is the one I've heard the latest. Yeah, so maybe a bit biased. I mean, it's a whole list based on me, so of course it's biased, but I've just been playing it over and over and over and over and over again. It's a similar sound to like Leviathan, but I just think it's way better. I just think it's way better. The grooves are better, the despair is better. I love bands like Catatonia and Paradise Lost and all loads of funeral doom bands, Esoteric, Mournful Congregation. It feels like that in a black metal setting. So it's 2 of my favourite genres mixing, and that's why it's almost number 1. My number 1 black metal album of all time is Burzum with Burzum. I bet you're thinking Philosophem. So one of the albums that got me into it is a mainstay. It's a 10 out of 10. Probably gets a lot of people into the genre, but re-listening to like everything over and over again, this album is my favourite. It's the best. It's my favourite. When he broke off from Mayhem, made it just made it way better. In my opinion, like, the vocals I prefer, Just the melodies I prefer, the rawness, the evilness I prefer. Iya! Lord of the Depths. Fucking amazing. Spell of Destruction. Amazing. I mean, when you put it together with Ask, the EP, you know, that's what I listen to most of the time. Even fucking better. This album has the rawness, has the evilness, has the man, the myth, the legend, Varg himself. Has everything. It's my favourite. At this current moment in time, Burzum's debut is my favourite. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my list. Tell me in the comments below your favourite black metal albums of all time. What should I have had on here? What am I missing? You know, what am I missing here? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.